Welcome to week 2. Hopefully you didn't have too bad of a week 1. In this week, you're going to write your second draft for the professional portfolios. And so in this week, I'm going to read your first drafts, give you feedback, turn them back into you. And then you'll need to make changes in the executive summary on whatever feedback I gave you on that. Make those changes and then also provide your artifacts section. So on the screen I have the template for our professional portfolio, and I'm also going to use the PE professional portfolio example to help you through this process. So again, last week you wrote about the summary for the Code of Professional Responsibility 1 and the BOC Practice Standard 1. So this week what you need to do is find an artifact that demonstrates that you are meeting that particular Code of Professional Responsibility and that particular practice standard. So what is an artifact? An artifact is something that demonstrates that you're actually doing this thing at your work. So let's go back to our BOC practice standards, professional standards, sorry. So Code 1, patient care responsibilities. So what is this particular code about? It's about making sure that you treat all your patients equally. So what is an artifact that demonstrates that you are actually doing that? Maybe you have at your workplace a a policy and procedure manuals where you actually describe how that you're going to treat all your student athletes, your patients, whatever, the same regardless of their race, their sexual orientation, any of those things. You're going to treat them equally. You're going to provide them the best care possible. Whatever you can find that at your work that demonstrates that you are treating all your patients the same. So that's the artifact. You have to show at your work that this policy is already in place. So that's the artifact. Now, the other artifact is you're going to need for standard 1 is for direction. Do you have a contract with the university, with the team physicians at the university that you're working at or whatever, that shows that that those doctor or doctors are providing direction for you? So for each student in this class, it's going to be a little bit different. So it depends on what your workplace can provide you. You may have to ask your boss or your AD for some of this information if you don't already have some of these things. So that's the first part of this assignment, is finding that artifact. That artifact will actually go in the appendix of your paper. I'm scrolling down. It's the very end. Appendix A, you'll have 2 appendices probably. Put your artifacts here. If it's a PDF thing, you have to copy and paste it in there. It has to be included in this professional portfolio. It can't be a separate file. So let me show you in our PE example. So with the PE student, the student turned in a lesson plan that demonstrated that she was satisfying standard 1 for her shape standards. And then what you're going to do after you find that artifact is you're going to write 2 to 3 pages total, so about a page and a half for each standard. So a page and a half to 2 pages for Code 1, a page and a half to 2 pages on Practice Standard 1. What you're going to do is briefly describe the artifact itself, and then the most important thing is you're going to explain how that artifact demonstrates that you are satisfying Code 1. Then on the other description, on practice standard 1. How does it actually show that you are meeting that particular standard or code? The reason why I'm, again, providing you a PE portfolio, so you're not a PE teacher. The writing needs to be in such a way that a non-athletic trainer can understand how that, what is that artifact and how is it satisfying that the assigned code or professional standard. So read this description, and I can spend my time reading this to you. You're adults, you can read it. And this description will help you understand how that lesson that she has provided, the student has provided, demonstrates that the student has actually satisfied shape PE standard number 1. So that's the goal here, is by the time you're done with this particular section, scroll up, in the artifact section, I'll be able to read what the artifact's about, and then you'll be clear on how it actually sorry, my brain just went unclear. How that particular artifact demonstrates that you are meeting practice standard 1, or code of professional responsibilities 1. So again, if you are unclear what you're trying to do, please ask. This is probably the one more difficult sections that we have in our professional portfolio. It's the describing how that standard actually satisfies the code or the standard as a whole. Now, one thing I want to make clear is that, as we talked about in the executive summary for these codes over here, we have all these subpoints, your artifact does not need to satisfy every single subpoint, because this is going to be true in some of our later assignments. But it should meet majority of them. You can refer the reader back to some of the subpoints, but you don't need to say that this artifact demonstrates I'm meeting substandard 1.1 because of this, then 1.2 because of this, 1.3 because of this, 1.4 because of this. That gets boring and redundant. Okay, don't do that. We want to look at the code as a whole, but you can bring in some of the subpoints. Again, it doesn't have to be all the subpoints. Again, if you're unsure what to do, please ask. I'm here to help.